This is the senior editor of the Green Fund, Hugo Gray, and today we're speaking to a very special guest here on Canacast, Melissa Kerr. Melissa is a fibromyalgia and chronic pain patient who uses medicinal cannabis to help manage her symptoms. She's also currently taking part in a nationwide chronic pain study that's being conducted by Applied Cannabis Research, and is here today to discuss the impact that medicinal cannabis has had on her illness. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so just to start with, could you briefly outline for our listeners, if they're not familiar with the condition, what sort of symptoms you suffer from as a result of your fibromyalgia and chronic pain, and has this significantly impacted your quality of life?
Yeah, it definitely has. Fibromyalgia is one of those weird conditions which is very misunderstood and very hard to get recognised when you do have it. It can be quite a fight to even get a diagnosis with fibro. It can mask as so many other things. Essentially, they'll rule out other conditions, and if you're still left without a diagnosis, chances are you are lumped in fibro, which is kind of unfortunate because it really is a standalone condition. It affects your nervous system and the way that your body processes and signals pain. So it's kind of classed as a neurological disorder by some. It can also be classed as a psychosomatic disorder by others. So you've really got to find a good doctor to get diagnosed, or you're basically lumped into a very unfortunate group of people that get missed and get mistreated. It can cause you to be incredibly sensitive to any kind of physical stimuli, light, sound, vibration, touch. Also affects your gut. So your gut is sensitive to food. Stress makes the condition worse. And it's essentially makes you, for a better word of it, really aggravated to everything that a normal person wouldn't even find discomfort in. So something like a fan. I can't stand the wind blowing from a fan. I can't stand even one of my little cats walking over certain parts of my body. It shoots pain like someone's sticking a needle into me. And that's not normal. That shouldn't happen. So there's a process that's going wrong in how your body is interpreting those signals to be so extreme compared to what the normal person would feel. So that does have a huge effect on the kind of things that you can enjoy, going shopping at the supermarket, the lighting. I think I last about 5 minutes before I'll get a migraine. I'd love to wear sunglasses everywhere, but you look weird, so you don't, so you just push through it. You want to hug your children, but you don't want to tell them not to give you a nice tight hug, so you just push through it. So yeah, it can affect a lot of areas in your life. It's quite sad.
Yeah, no, I can imagine how it would affect almost every aspect of your day-to-day life. So what led you to begin using medicinal cannabis in the first place? Was this something that you researched and sought out yourself, or was it recommended to you by a doctor?
Actually, all of the above. I had family members in Canada. Canada, well known for their medicinal cannabis treatment over there. It's been legalized for quite some time and that sort of thing over in Canada. My partner's mother has got quite bad rheumatoid arthritis, and she takes CBD oil and had really good relief with that. I kind of thought about it. I was up at the pharmacy, my local pharmacy here one day, picking up my 20 scripts of junk that I was on prior. And he's like, oh, you really should look into, he was aware of what I had and, what medications I was taking for what, was ailing me. He said, you should look into this. And he hands me a form. It was I can't remember the name of it now. It was like a authority form for my GP to sign to go off to the cannabis clinic in Sydney where I go. And I thought, oh, okay. Took it home and thought about it, and my biggest problem with actioning it was my confidence in my GP in actually signing it. So I waited a year and, stayed on my medications, thought about asking the doctor. I didn't think I had the right relationship with him to actually come forward and say, hey, I'd like you to send me to this guy because I think he can treat you better. So that was a worry, because I thought if I see him and he disapproves of it, I'm in a small town. If he doesn't want to see me anymore, then I've got to travel, and that's really inconvenient to me because I don't drive. And I was going to be stuck. So I really waited and waited on that, and I regret that I did. I regret that I was scared to ask, because I asked and he signed it. He wasn't all that supportive, but he signed it, and that's the thing. Now that he signed it, I don't even have to go to him anymore. Yeah, I'm done with him. Yeah, so I waited for a year for nothing. But yeah, it's kind of funny. But that was really the only setback I had to getting onto it. Was just my confidence in asking my one and only local GP that's convenient to me for the permission to get the referral. So, yeah, don't really have the option to doctor shop here, so I was pretty scared.
Yeah, well, I mean that's perfectly understandable, because that's honestly like a big issue that's still facing the sort of Australian cannabis industry. Is a lot of doctors are quite resistant to prescribing it because they either they're being sort of hyper cautious about the potential risks, or they're just completely uneducated about the fact that cannabis can does actually have some significant medical applications now, and they just dismiss it out of hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, in regional communities, that's an even more significant problem, which I think is why a lot of cannabis clinics are starting to try and move towards offering telehealth services now, so that they can see people in these more isolated communities where, like you said, there might only be one doctor. So if they say no, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, exactly. You get stuck, and then when you go back to him, if he said no, he's going to look at you in a different light too. So you kind of really, you got to step out of your comfort zone and out of your box a little bit just to make that change. I think now I see a doctor in Sydney via telehealth, and he looks after my prescription with the cannabis oil, and it's been fantastic. He's very professional, and yeah, look, I'm so glad that I did it. You have no idea. It's definitely changed the way I'm feeling, the way I think, the way I'm able to do things, the way I'm able to move. I still have the nerve pain sensitivity with touch, though. That's something that it hasn't eased, but that's going to stay with me for life. I don't think there's anything that can cut that sensation out with fibro, because you still have the trigger of the contact. So it might be turned down, the pain, but it's still there. It hasn't gone. But the other symptoms that I had are definitely eased to the point where I can say, thank God I've done this. It's been a big relief. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, cannabis is not some kind of miracle cure-all, despite what some sort of, more snake oil salesman people in the cannabis industry might try and claim. But for certain conditions, it can be like night and day in terms of like the effect it has on your quality of life.
Yeah, definitely. It's I described it to another person I spoke with as like the dial has been turned down on the frequency of what I felt. And with fibro, the frequency of everything is heightened. So my sensitivity to things are reduced now. And that is the best quality of life for someone with fibro, to not feel like you have fibro 110% of the time. I might be down to 15, maybe 20% of the time I feel some sort of symptom somewhere. And then the touch is, just don't bump into me, I'm fine. It's a bit hard to tell the cats that, not want to walk over you, but yeah, I love them. So you just go, ouch, ouch, yeah, okay, sit down, be good to me. But yeah, it's definitely dialed the whole frequency down of all my symptoms, including the frequency I get migraines. So the frequency of like the lights is less. The vibrations is less. The whole system feels like it's just been dampened, if that makes sense, and relaxed. And I, for years, was saying to people, I have not been able to relax for such a long time. To actually feel like I'm in a peaceful state of mind hasn't happened for a very long time. And I've achieved that. And that is 100% due to the treatment that I'm on now. And
That's
never got that
fantastic.
with any other opioid or anti-epileptic, or, you know, I used to be on sleeping medication, stimulant medication to wake up. You know, just pop pills to wake up, go to sleep, function, try and reduce pain, then to deal with the constipation from those pain pills, blah, blah, blah. The tummy upsets, I had enough, you know.
Yeah, and I can imagine the endless chain of side effects and then the additional medication you take to manage those would just become unbearable after a while.
Yeah, and some of the pain reduction medication, I did notice it would reduce certain pain, but not that sensitivity in the nerves. That was still there. And that's never changed. But also, it affected your peripherals. Like, I found I couldn't concentrate. I was all fogged and muddled on anti-epileptic type. You know, am I able to mention brand names or no brand names?
Yeah, you can mention brand names. That's perfectly all right.
So gabapentin and Lyrica, the two of the very common treatments given for fibromyalgia, along with, they usually give you antidepressant. I've also had beta blockers. I've had baclofen. I think that's like a muscle type relaxant thing. Oh God, amitriptyline. Tried everything. A lot of that, and the side effects of that is you just don't think clearly. You feel like you're in a thick of a fog and you can't, you know, even nut out a situation like a math question. You know, you just gone. And that was not a pleasant experience. Like, I feel awake now. I feel like I could be a functioning member of society if I could drive, but I'm not able to drive with the medication. So I'm stuck at home, but I could do something now. Whereas in the past, I was stuck at home and also unable to do something. So that's a big plus for me, is I can think clearly. I'm not clouded by side effects and bogged down by, they call it fibro fog, but I think it's medication fog from what they treat you with from the pharmaceuticals. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say medication fog would probably be more accurate, because I've spoken to several other people who are participating in the pain study who have different conditions to yours, and a lot of them described a similar kind of thing, like sort of a mental
side effect from the meds.
Yeah, like a mental haze that they just sort of like can't emerge from, and that, you know, medicinal cannabis has helped kind of let them wake up from now.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I think that a lot of that mental haze is also in part probably due to frustration, depression, and honestly, just fatigue from dealing with your medical issues all the time, relentlessly feeling like crap every day. It wears you down. It steps all over your soul. And you might not be clinically depressed, but you're medically depressed. And, you know, you might not have true depression, but you're not happy. You're not functioning. You're not achieving anything you want to do. And that sucks. That's a really low feeling. And the doctors will say, oh, you're just depressed, take this pill. Here's another one, you know. It's like, no, I'm not sad. I'm just really unhappy that I feel like this. They don't tend to see that. I think if you're at that point where your treatment isn't making you feel any better, you're sad because you're not feeling any better, try what I'm trying, give it a go, and you know what, you've got nothing to lose because you're not gaining anything where you are at the moment. So try it out.
Yeah, and I think that's a very good point. I think just the main thing stopping a lot of people is, again, just this perception of cannabis, you know, as still being like an illicit drug or a narcotic, and people kind of doubting that it actually has any kind of medical application. I mean, did your opinion of cannabis change after you began using it in a medical context, or were you always kind of open-minded
Oh,
to
look,
the
I've
idea?
always been pretty free-minded with cannabis. I had family members that were using it medicinally, legally medicinally, and off-market medicinally. Um, and it hasn't been something that I've ever seen as a bad thing. In all honesty, it's out there in the community, it's everywhere, and it is a problem illicitly with people. But the way it is used in the medicinal form, it's regulated, it's safe, it's the one good thing is that the batches are consistent, the doses are consistent, your results will be consistent. Whereas if you are self-medicating or obtaining it off market, it is up and down, it is not consistent, and it is unsafe, and you can get in trouble. It's definitely worth looking into the legal way. And if people are wondering about what it costs, it is individual, depending on, of course, what your condition is and how you respond to the treatment. It's very general to say it costs this much per bottle, yes, but depending on how much you need to use, that of course changes per day. I think my cost is about $3 a day, which is really not very much when you think about it. I only take 5 mil a day. That's, I think, is a reasonably low dose, but I'm not really aware of what others take. I found a nice comfortable point on that low dose, both for me financially and results wise, and I'm happy to see that. And the doctor that I do telehealth with, he is confident enough that I know how to self-manage if I do have a flare, that I have the ability to up that dose to another 5 mil to cope with that, and even potentially go further if needed. But a rough about $3 a day for me at the moment, not in a flare, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, no, I think around 15 mils is still within the day is still within the sort of acceptable bounds of it's like standard use for people with more stronger pain, I guess. Yes. But yeah, I don't think that's as an excessive amount. From what I've heard, speaking to other people who use the medication. But yeah, I mean, as you were saying then about the consistency of like the dosages too, I think that's a big part of why some people still have a negative view of the industry, is that they mistakenly, think it's just, you're just sitting back and firing up like a fast joint or something, and not the fact that most of the time this is, medication comes in a bottle. It's not something you use to get high. It like is a very strict medical usage.
Yeah, it's very safe. Very, very few side effects too. Like I don't have any issue with my digestive system with it at all. Whereas I had a lot of IBS and everything with the regular pharmaceutical treatments for fibro very, very badly. Didn't make life very comfortable. But yeah, I have a really settled stomach now. It's really nice not to have any of those symptoms anymore. It's great. So it's very easy on the system from my point of view. I just think you need to give it a try. Don't be scared to give it a go.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that to anyone who thinks like it might be a good treatment option for them. Do you think the Australian government should be providing greater patient subsidies to help cover the cost?
Yeah, I definitely do. I believe that in the future they'll get around to it, but for the people that need it now, it's not happening fast enough. In my case, I'm on a disability pension, and it is, one of the reasons why I held back again was, oh God, this is, hundreds of dollars a bottle, and it was kind of a bit daunting in the beginning. So there would be people that would hold back that would benefit greatly from this, because when you're sick, you're not making a lot of money because you can't work if you're that sick. So the cost of it is probably a big drawback for some. So any help that could be given would be miraculous for those people, because they're the ones that really, really need it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's partly why studies like the applied cannabis research chronic pain study is so important is that, you know, they help further legitimize cannabis as a treatment option and provide, you know, greater evidence that potentially will lead the government in future to, you know, open up subsidies and potentially even make, you know, patient accessibility significantly easier, which it is happening right now, but like you said, it's not happening fast enough for the patients that
No,
need it.
that's right. And I mean, all they've got to do is go and talk to the Canadian authorities and just get it happening. You know, they're part of the cousins. Just go talk to them and copy what they're doing. Not
Yeah,
hard.
no,
It really
they're
isn't hard.
miles ahead. Yeah.
They are. And I just think we're in such a nanny country here. It's just, it's sad. It really is sad. It's like, just get on with approving things. Just make life more easier for your population. Get us out there working again. Legalize being able to drive if you're of capacity to do it so that you can get to a job. That's what I would love to see. I'm in the best shape I've been in for the last 15 years, but I still can't work because I can't get to a job.
Yeah, no, that is a distinct issue at the moment too. There was a story we actually recently covered where an Australian magistrate resigned in part due to protest of what he saw as the unfair drug driving laws in Australia, because according to him, you know, a majority of the people who came before his court on those charges, they weren't adversely affected by something significant. They, you know, they had taken cannabis days or even like weeks prior, and it was just still in their system. So that is another legal kind of blind spot that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a shame that, I mean, you have people who do cannabis illegally. They get drug tested, they come positive. Just say I was driving and I got drug tested. I'd be positive too, and I'd be lumped in the same basket as those doing the illegal activities. But I'm not.
Exactly.
So for people such as myself, there needs to be a permission, an exemption, something that proves you are taking this as a treatment to function and enable yourself in society. You're not breaking the law.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wouldn't care if I had to do some special driving test. I'd do it. I'd pass. I'd then be able to work. But living where I am, I can't get around. There's no transport here. I need that license. I need the car to get anywhere, to do anything. So for me, I'm just like, well, they're going to keep me on a pension because I can't get there. How is that helping? How is that helping society? It's not. I feel good. I'd love to be more active and, you know, be a taxpayer again instead of a tax taker, but I can't be. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, I can imagine how it would be. So, I mean, just to wrap up now, considering the significant impact on your quality of life that medicinal cannabis has had, do you think it should be more widely available to Australian patients? Do you think it should be easier to access than it is now?
Yeah, I definitely think doctors need to be more understanding of their patients who are not getting anywhere with standard treatment. I think they need to take time in those complex cases a little more to offer the alternatives, such as treatment with medicinal cannabis. They need to be more open-minded to the research for certain conditions, not just give it to everybody that asks for it. They need to qualify, of course, for the condition and the benefit and be followed up. But I just think the awareness needs to be out there more, and their ability to actually either prescribe it or refer people needs to be opened up a lot more than what it is.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent they've streamlined the government's SAS prescription sort of program to make it easier, and wait times are down. But some people, still struggle to get prescribed due to, as we discussed before, either reasons such as being located in a regional area where there's limited doctors, or just being unable to access the program altogether because they're not familiar with how any of it works.
Yeah. I mean, I can assume that most people like myself who have complex medical conditions that are not very well understood by a lot of doctors have come across ones that have been incredibly unhelpful and even left offices in tears because they haven't had any support. That's an issue for us as well. That if you're with a doctor that treats you like that and you've got no other choice to go somewhere, you're not going to be feeling confident enough to ask, hey, I'd like to try this. So I think in a sense, the doctors almost need to be more understanding towards all complex conditions as well as step one, and then treatment options step two. It's sort of, they need to, I don't know, evolve into the new species and the new age doctor rather than the old guy that wants to just keep signing you up with pharmaceuticals all the time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not a good option.
Can't say that any better.
Yeah.
I've had a few cases where I've walked out of offices and I've paid $500-$600 to see a specialist and left in tears, and just been absolutely devastated, because I don't understand how they can take an oath to help people and then not help.
Yeah, sometimes they can be almost indifferent to patients' well-being. I guess they just see you as a collection of symptoms, but don't actually listen to what you're saying about your quality of life and how the treatment's affecting you.
Yeah, and then that affects you mentally. You're basically just quashed. You're insignificant. You don't matter, and you're lost. Yeah, and that's, a lot of people with complex medical conditions end up with suicidality, and that shouldn't be happening. They should have support there from day one from a medical professional that will want to help them and see them get better. They're not asking for drugs. They're not a drug addict. They are asking for help. So I think the doctors need a bit of education as well to help people a little more when the cases are complex. They're the people that really need it.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully the laws will open up soon and we'll actually be able to get it to those people who do, because, people are still dying, or, like you said, or just suffering needlessly in pain.
Exactly. It's not good. It doesn't need to happen. It really doesn't. If you've tried the pharmaceutical way and you're still not feeling better and you're afraid to ask, then that's a really sad situation. You really need to be proactive about your own health and just advocate for yourself. If you fail with one guy, go to the next town, try somebody else until you get some help. Don't just, like me, sit there for a year and wait and be scared. It isn't worth it. I wish I'd had that extra year of feeling better already behind me. Go for it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice, honestly. So with that, we can wrap up the interview here. And thanks again for joining us on Canacast, Melissa. It's been fascinating to hear your discussion.
Hope I've opened up some people's ears and eyes about what's out there. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why this is all important. We need to create more awareness about the benefits that this can bring, so we can help people stop being in so much pain.
Yeah. Yep. It's
all right.
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, thanks for being here.